The Economic Development Committee meeting for today, Tuesday, March the 28th, joined by my esteemed colleagues, Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson and Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell from a recent election victory. We're going to call this meeting to order. Do we have any general public comment cards at this time?
General public comment.
None. Okay. We will close the general public comment. Are there any multiple agenda public comment cards?
There are no multiple agenda public comment cards.
Wow. What a miracle. You should come more often. Okay, members, if there's no objection, we're going to move items 3 and 5 through 23 on consent. Item 3, then items 5 through 23 on consent. Unless there's an objection. Great, that shall be the order. So thank you. Okay, we're going to hold number 11. That's the Los Feliz Village merchant base bid. We're going to hold that one, but everybody else can go. Great. Thank you.
That was easy.
Okay, Mr. Liu.
Item number 1, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Mr. Don Liu as the permanent executive director, Los Angeles Department of Convention and Tourism Development. This matter has also been referred to the Innovation, Grants, Technology, Commerce, and Trade Committee.
All right, thank you. We've been joined by our colleague, Councilman Paul Krikorian. And I'm glad that he's here for this very important matter that's now before us. First of all, Jan, thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. I know you've had an opportunity to serve in a variety of capacities in city government, and we appreciate your commitment. As you know, the convention center is something that's very, very important, not just because it's in District 9, but because it is a real city-wide asset, and we all have a vested interest in making sure that the convention center is doing all it can do and being all it can be to our city, and we're excited about it as a resource. But why don't we start off by having you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you want to take on this task.
Absolutely. Well, it's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Look forward to working with you on bringing a new convention center to the new Ninth. I've been with the city since January of 1999. I started with City Attorney Jim Hahn as his Director of Community Relations. Became a deputy mayor under his administration from 2001-2005. Took a small break thanks to the voters of Los Angeles, but came back and was Chief of Staff to Janice Hahn, Chief of Staff to Joe Buscaino, and then returned to the mayor's office when Eric Garcetti got elected in 2013. Served as Deputy Mayor of City Services. For the last 2 years, I've been the Deputy Executive Director and Chief of Staff at the Port of Los Angeles. It's been a blessed career and a real privilege to not only live in the city of Los Angeles, but work for the city of Los Angeles as well.
And so what are your priorities for the convention center as you view this unique asset that we have in the city?
Well, as I learn more and more about this unique asset, I'm reminded by the mayor's text when I was told about my new appointment. He said, build more and book more. And it really does surmise what we need to do for the convention center. I think Bud Ovrum did a great job and led us in the right direction. And I have no aim to change the direction that was set by Mr. Ovrum. I think we need to continue with the plans of the entitled project to build the larger convention center with more contiguous space. At the same time, we need to do as much as we can to build more hotels within walking distance of the convention center. Those will be my sole focuses while I'm here.
Well, we certainly share those goals. If we're serious about really creating a world-class venue. It's got to be one that can accommodate the large conventions and events that need the contiguous space and the modernization. An important element in this whole process is communication. We know that the mayor's office is actively involved and engaged, as is this committee. And we just want some reassurances that you're going to be coming back to us on a regular basis, on a frequent basis, to consult, to inform, to advise. Any thoughts about providing this committee with the kind of feedback that
It's critical to any job, but especially to this one. There are so many stakeholders involved in this process. Of course, yourself as the home councilman, but the CLA's office and CAO's office have been very, very involved and critical to the recent negotiations. It's a real challenge when you have that many stakeholders, but one that I'm used to, especially at the Port of Los Angeles, where we had a very active commission, a very engaged community, he's not here, but a nag of a councilman who I adore, and active participation by the mayor's office as well. So it's something I'm very used to, and having been a chief of staff 3 different times, it's one of the things that I feel is one of the most critical pieces of doing a good job is communication.
Thank you. Well, we're going to hold you to that.
Please do.
We do, as I said, take this, the committee, all the members take this very seriously, and we're excited about the prospects for the future of the convention center. And we want to make sure something happens within our lifetime. Right, members? That's the goal. Okay. Any other questions?
If I may.
Yes, Mitch.
Thank you. I just want to say a few words. I've worked with Doan Liu in 2 different capacities. One, when I was a relatively new deputy for then council member Eric Garcetti back in 2002, and just when you were deputy mayor for James Hahn, how effective you were when Mr. Hahn divided the city up into service centers, and we had the monthly roundtable meetings that you were responsible for Northeast LA, and how effective that was at getting the most difficult tasks done that we couldn't otherwise accomplish through the normal channels. So I got a window in. At that time, you would convene those meetings and meet with all the department heads and deputies from other offices. And so I have that very strong frame of mind of witnessing how effective you were then, 15 years ago, and since that time, working with you when you were deputy mayor to Garcetti and the harbor and now the Tourist and Convention Bureau, and how competitive it is across the city, across the country. Many cities have either built brand new convention centers and hotels or have funded the construction of new ones, and how competitive that is nationwide, and how it is of great importance that Los Angeles make sure that we put our stamp out there, that we let it be known that we are a serious convention center, and that we will compete with the best of them to land as many national conventions as we possibly can. And I have no doubt that you're very aware of that environment out there and the important role that Los Angeles will play, especially in light that the convention center is about to undergo many significant changes under your watch. And I think also what's really great, and my hopes are that you'll be in this position for a while, long term, and I think that extends the opportunity for us to really establish ourselves as one of the most desirable convention cities in the United States, and the obvious reasons are on what that will do for our economy. So I just wanted to say that I think you're eminently qualified, and I'm happy to support this. And as the chair mentioned, we look forward to working with you and making sure that you deliver on helping us reach our full potential. at the convention center. So congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman. I actually remember meeting you even before you started in
When
the
I was
council
a
office.
pesky activist.
You were a activist and a neighborhood council member,
Right.
And even involved in the community service cabinet at that time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, a lot of history here. That's good. Members, any other comments? None? Okay, great. Then we are going to approve the recommendation. And we will look forward to seeing you on the floor. Do we know when it's going to come up? Tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Very
Congratulations.
grateful, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
We look forward to working with you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move item 11 to the consent item. There's no objection? All right, that shall be the order. Mr. Clerk, what's the next item?
Item number 2, motion Weezer Krikorian relative to instructing the chief legislative analyst with the assistance of the city administrative officer, Office of Finance, and city attorney to report on the state of the fashion industry in Los Angeles.
As many of us have learned, American Apparel recently shut down its factories in L.A., resulting in hundreds of individuals losing their jobs, and really has had a negative ripple effect. So I think it is important that we look at this issue. I want to thank Councilman Weezer for bringing it forward. And let me ask the CLA to join us. Wearing his other hat.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Just a couple of general questions. We know that there's going to be a study, but do you know what business tax category the fashion industry falls into? How is that?
The fashion industry is a pretty broad term. I believe it falls into several categories, including the Category 9, which is the professions industry, and also the wholesale and retail as well. So it covers several of the.
Do we know how many fashion companies or fashion-related companies are located in Los Angeles? Do we have some idea, a rough idea?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, I hope that your report will provide an analysis on where the companies are located and also look into whether they've increased or decreased their business activity over the past 20 years or so. And also to look at what types of permits these companies need to operate and what's the building safety requirements for them. But we know that it is a massive industry. I'm told, in fact, that headquarters were located in one part of town and the actual factories may be located in another part of town. And so it's
Correct.
it's the identifying where these resources are and how we can benefit from them. Any questions? Mr. Krikorian.
Just to follow up on the chairman's point, I think having some kind of a breakdown, at least generally, I don't suppose it has to be with great specificity, but generally, how do the business tax categories apply to what percentage of the industry? Because they are going to be all manufacturing. There's going to be
Right.
other, but it would be good if we could see if there are ways that we can help, with some business tax policies that might be helpful to this industry that will be effective in increasing revenues and increasing jobs. And then the other side of that is always, what other tax revenues are they producing besides business tax? So clearly the retail part produces an enormous amount of sales tax revenue, but there may be others as well. So if we could have some sense of that, I think that would be useful. And then specific to this committee especially, there are some parts of this industry that are known as being very problematic in wage and hour compliance. And
other working conditions.
yeah, all sorts of working condition issues. And yet there's other parts of this industry that, produce vast numbers of high-paying, good jobs. So having some sense of that spectrum, I think, would be helpful in trying to develop policies that are helpful to the business. Not only helpful to the business, but also helpful in ensuring compliance by those in this industry who aren't playing by the rules as well.
Okay. Council members, any other comments? All right, so we're going to we'll adopt the motion, and we'll look forward to the report in 60 days, 90 days. What's our timing?
90 days would be good,
If given a choice, huh?
if given the choice.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, we'll be holding this committee.
Yes, we'll hold it in committee.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4. Huh? We're adopting with. Oh, yeah, we adopted the motion, it's going to council. Okay.
All right,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
With reports back to committee.
Okay, item number 4.
Item 4, City Attorney Report and Ordinance relative to amending Los Angeles Administrative Code to create the Grand Avenue Hotel Project Trust Fund for the receipt and disbursement of hotel development incentive payments related to the approval of Grand Avenue Hotel Development Project.
All right, CLA at the table. I understand there's an amendment to be read.
Yes, since this item, this was simply a technical matter to implement the Grand Avenue project the council recently approved. But once the city attorney had prepared and released this ordinance, there was some new information that came forward, and we just need to do some additional cleanup. Back in 2009, when the council adopted the original Grand Avenue project, that whole process included this thing called a community taxing district. We have since moved away from using that tool in economic development. We don't do it anymore. But back in 2009, council adopted an ordinance to create a community taxing district. And so since we're not using that tool anymore, we need to eliminate it. And so that information came forward. And so the city attorney needs an instruction from the city council to prepare an ordinance to eliminate the community taxing district number 2, just to close that out and get that off of the books. And so in addition to the action, the recommendation of the city attorney in front of you now to create this trust fund, we would recommend that you also provide an instruction to the city attorney that they prepare an ordinance to terminate community taxing district number 2. And I don't know if the city attorney has anything more to add to clarify.
No, we just need that instruction from council, and then we'll present the ordinance separately from the trust fund
Okay, so what action do we need to take?
to just instruct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance dissolving community taxing district number 2 Grand Avenue project.
Okay, without objection,
Just a question, though.
Mr. Corian?
What's replacing the revenues that would otherwise be generated by the community taxing district?
The way the community taxing district worked is that the city, and this is why the tool doesn't work anymore, why we're not doing it. What was happening was if a community taxing district was created, and if a community taxing district created a bed tax for a hotel, then the city's existing TOT would be set on hold in place of the new bed tax. Now that we're eliminating the community taxing, or recommending to eliminate the community taxing district, the existing TOT will remain in place. Okay. So it was a substitute tool, and so we're just eliminating the substitute tool. We don't need it anymore.
Okay. Okay, then we will approve the recommendation as amended.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We had a question on item 7. We're going to wait for a second and see if we can get someone from the department here on that. If not, we will. Nope. So next time? Okay, good. We're going to continue. At the request of a member, we're going to be continuing item 7 so we can have a more complete report from staff on it. Okay? Anything else before us at this time? Mr. Clerk.
We'll take us back to item 6 there. Motion, Busqueno, Harris Dawson, relative to utilizing all available Community Redevelopment Agency Los Angeles excess bond proceeds from the Pacific Corridor Redevelopment Project area to hire a consultant to assist the city and the Housing Authority, the City of Los Angeles, with the redevelopment of the Rancho San Pedro property located at 275 West 1st Street in Council District 15.
Item 6.
Okay, it's item number 6. Any comment? Any objections? That will be We'll approve the motion as presented. Okay. Any other business for us at this time?
We have items, series of items. Okay, it was a little unclear. So on the consent then,
On consent, we had items, just to refresh your memory, 3 and 5 through 23,
through, excuse me,
except 7.
correct, okay.
Mr.
good.
Chairman, I think I came in after the consent. If I could be added to the consent approval, that would be. Oh,
Oh, yeah, we have item 7 is just into the room.
A grand entrance. Sorry about that.
First of all, yes, let's make sure that Mr. Croyd is added to the roll on the consent items. He came in a little under the wire. We've got an item 7 that there was some interest in, and hopefully you can provide some additional information about.
Sure.
Specifically,
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for accommodating us on this. Our apologies for not preparing better and reaching out to you in advance of committee. I wanted to get a fuller explanation of what's actually happening with the lease on Crenshaw at the EDD building. It sounds like this is maintenance of the status quo with regard to services that will be available to residents. But the part that I'm curious about is, it seems like parts of the responsibility have been transferred to the National Urban League from the local Urban League, and then parts are not. And I was just trying to get a clear on why, and if they can't do the whole thing, why are they doing any of it, is kind of where I'm coming from.
Robert Science, Assistant General Manager, Economic and Workforce Development Department. Our relationship with the local Urban League has been fairly complicated due to audits and other fiscal matters that we could not continue to contract with them, and that goes into last year. So your committee actually approved us to transfer the current contract to the National Urban League. And it was really designed for a one-year time period, and hopefully that the local Urban League could get the fiscal matters and all the fiscal matters in a row, and hopefully pick back up the contract. Unfortunately, the local Urban League will not be able to continue the contracting. So the National Urban League's 2 current contracts that we have with them, one with our Cook County that's on a retail side, it will end this March 31st.
I'm sorry, where is that?
Cook County is the fiscal sponsor of the grant. It was a retail grant from the Walmart Foundation that went through Cook County. So we were able to bring in an additional $400,000 for South Los Angeles, specifically on retail training. The contract will end March the 31st with with the local Urban League. We negotiated with Cook County to keep the contract in South Los Angeles, and Goodwill is going to be picking that up. On the WorkSource Center contract, that will end June the 30th. And coincidentally, UAW, which was co-located on the edge of your district by USC on Vermont, their lease, not their lease, they had to move because they're going to revamp that whole area. And the supervisor, Mark Ridley Thomas, assured us that when they're done with the renovation in about 2 years, we'll be able to go back there. But in the meantime, we need to relocate UAW. So UAW is one of our best providers in the system. So we want to keep them in the district. We're going to move them into the Crenshaw area office. So the continuation of services will still be there. We're also going to move the staff that were under the National Urban League contract to UAW. And we also are going to supplement their next year's contract because they're going to be covering a larger area of space, since we're not going to have UAW on that on Vermont. So it will be in the Crenshaw area office.
So having been to both centers, they're both pretty good size. I know the EDD building on Crenshaw. You're not going to double the size. It sounds like you might be doubling the staff, but you're not going to double the size. It's also just, I'm wondering what the thinking is, from a citywide perspective, there's not a big geographic difference between Crenshaw and Vermont. In South LA, that's a lifetime apart. I mean, one is on the border with Council Member Price's district, and the other is on the border with the county. I mean, you're out of the city if you go west of Crenshaw there.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what the thinking is. Is it you all's feeling that people will come from CD9 all the way over to Crenshaw, or how will that work?
So we're working with actually Trade Tech, which actually hosts the CRCD Worksource Center, and providing them with some additional resources as well to pick up the work from that particular area. Actually, the UAW is closer to this. LA Trade Tech, and so we're working that out right now. So we really don't think that there's going to be that major of an inconvenience for a resident to go to either CRCD and or to the Crenshaw.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
And your staff, both of your staff members, Solomon and I can't remember her name, were on me about this. So yes, we did have a really good conversation.
Well, thank you. I mean, this is a really, I'm comforted to hear about LA Trade Tech. As you know, one of our focuses has been getting people ready for the municipal jobs and the jobs coming with Metro, and so to have a disruption at this time is critical, especially to disrupt it and put it on Crenshaw, which is the most difficult street to travel in all of South LA because of Metro right now, and that will be the case for the next 2 years at least until the train is finished. Just the logistics of it were a little unsettling. So.
And the good news on a little bit separate topic is on the target local hiring. We did a soft launch with our system, and right now we have over 400 individuals that have completed the city application.
Good.
So we're building that reserve of folks that are the most vulnerable as by design.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, members.
Okay, members, any other business before us at this time? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.